Welcome to ANS Solver question 4 of this paper. So for part A, they are asking us to calculate the upper bound of the perimeter. So how we do that is, we have to take the upper bound of each of the sides first and then calculate the perimeter. So they are saying that both figures are correct to one decimal place. So that means that we can add 0.05 to either side. For I say the upper bound, then we add 0.05, the lower bound then we minus 0.05. But in this case they are asking the upper bound, so we will calculate it like this. So 8.5 plus 0.05 plus 10.7 plus 0.05, and it's a rectangle, so the formula is 2 times length plus breadth. So this would be the formula, 2 times the length plus the breadth. So 8.55 plus 10.75 multiplied by 2. So your final answer for this question will be 38.6 centimeters. Now let's go to part B, where they are asking us to calculate the height of the parallelogram. So this is pretty easy. All you need to do is, this is a parallelogram, so the side DF will also be 9 centimeters. And now since we know two angles and one side, we can, all the three angles rather in the triangle, and one side of the triangle, we can use the sine rule and find out the height of the triangle or the parallelogram. So the side opposite to the side that we know, that is the 9 centimeter side, the angle opposite to that side is 90 degrees. So sine 90 divided by the length of the side, that is 9 centimeters, equals to the sine of the angle that is opposite the side that we need to find, that is EDF, or the angle EDF, which is 80 degrees. So sine 80 divided by h. So now all we need to do is solve for h, and you can put this calculation in your calculator. So sine 90 is equal to 1 divided by 9, that is 1 by 9. So sine 80 divided by 1 by 9 will give you the answer 8.863269, and you can round this off to three significant figures as 8.86, because the fourth significant figure in this case, which is 3, is lesser than equal to 5, so it won't round off the 6 to the next number. Therefore 8.86 centimeters will be your final answer for part B1. Now let's move to part B2, where they are telling us to explain why triangle CDF is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so firstly, angles on a straight line add up to 180. My bad. Let's draw it on the figure. So angles on a straight line add up to 180. So on the line, they have already given us one angle as 80 degrees. The other angle will be 100 degrees. Now, the angles in a triangle also add up to 180 degrees, and two angles are already taking up 140 degrees, that is 100 plus 40 degrees, that is 140. So the last angle has to be 180 minus 140 degrees, that is 40 degrees. So therefore, as you can see, two angles are the same, that is the 40 and 40. So therefore the sides CD and DF would be equal as well, and so this the triangle CDF is an isosceles triangle. Now let's move to part B3. So for B3, they are asking us to calculate the area of the trapezium ABCF. So that is this shape ABCF. Now the formula, or the area formula for trapezium, is half multiplied by the sum of both the sides, both the parallel sides rather, multiplied by the height. So half of side 1, which is 12 centimeters, plus the second side BC. Now we need to find BC. So we know that BD is 12 centimeters. Now, so to find BC, we need to find CD as well. Now, we found the side, or we know the side DF in this case, because a parallelogram's opposite sides are equal, and since it's an isosceles triangle, even the side CD will be 9 centimeters, and since the whole side BD is 12 centimeters, BC will be equal to 3 centimeters, because 9 centimeters have already been taken and the total has to be 12. Therefore, BC has to be 3 centimeters. Now, you multiply it with the height that we found in the part 1 of B, that is 8.86 centimeters. So you can write 8.863269. It's better to take more decimal places so that you don't face the premature rounding error. So now all you need to do is input this calculation into your calculator. So, and once you do that, you will get your final answer as 66.4745. And since you need to give your answer in 3 significant figures, the 4th significant figure, which is 7, is greater than or equal to 5, and therefore it will round off the 4 to the next number. And so your final answer will be 66.5 centimeter square. Now let's move on to part C. So for part C, they are asking us to calculate the area of the circle. Now, we know that we can use the circle theorem's rules in this case. So the first rule that we can use is that the angle in the semicircle is always 90 degrees. So when there is a chord that goes through the diameter and it forms a triangle like this, ACD, that angle that it forms at the edge of the circle, that is this angle, is always 90 degrees. Now since we know this angle, we can find out one more angle. So we can use the rule that angles in the same segment and standing on the same chord are always equal. So that would be this angle and this angle. So both the angles would be equal to each other. Therefore, this will also be 21 degrees. Now we know two angles in a triangle, so then we can easily find out the third angle, which would be 90 minus 21 degrees, that is 69 degrees. So this angle would be 69 degrees. Now, to calculate the area of the circle, we need to know the radius, and CA is the diameter of the circle, and if you take half of CA, it will be the radius. So let's find CA first. How you do that is, you use the sine rule in this case. So sine 69 divided by the side that is opposite to this angle, that is 12 centimeters, is equal to sine 90 divided by the side that is opposite to this angle, that is the diameter. So let's label it as D. Now, to find D, all you need to do is solve the equation for D. That means you take the sine 90 to the other side of the equation and you solve it by inputting the calculations in your calculator. So sine 69 divided by 12 and sine 90 divided by the entire this entire fraction. So that will be 12.85373992. Now, this is the diameter. The radius would be half of this value. So the area of a circle is pi r square. So we can write that it is pi half multiplied by 12.8537, the whole thing square. So now again you just need to input this calculation into your calculator. So 12.8537 divided by 2, then you square the answer and you multiply it by pi. So you will get the answer as 129.7 129.7624. Now, since you need your answer in 3 significant figures, your fourth significant figure, which is 7, is greater than or equal to 5. So it will round off the third significant figure to the next number. And the next number in this case would be 10. So your 1 would get carried forward and your final answer would be 130 centimeters square. And that would be your final answer for part C. Now let's go to part D, where they are asking us to calculate the value of x. Now they've told us that the perimeter of both the shapes that they have shown are equal. So the perimeter of a square would be 4 times the side of the square because all the sides are the same. So 4 multiplied by 8 is equal to the perimeter of the sector. So we can find the length of the arc of the sector, and so the perimeter of this sector would be the length of the arc plus the 2 times the radius because of these two sides, 1 and 2, and the arc would be the third side. So 2 times the radius, that is 9.5, plus x, which is the angle of the sector, divided by 360. Basically use the formula to calculate the length of the arc. So x by 360 multiplied by 2 pi r, and r in this case, which is 9.5. Now all you need to do is simplify and solve for x. So you can cancel the 2 and the 360. 360 divided by 2 is 180, and now 4 multiplied by 8 is 32, which is equal to 2 multiplied by 9.5, which is 19, plus pi multiplied by 9.5, which is 9.5 pi x whole thing divided by 180. Now we can take the 19 to the other side of the equation, so it will become 9.5 pi x, which is equal to 32 minus 19, which is 13, and we can even take the 180 to the other side of the equation. Division will become multiplication. So 13 multiplied by 180, which is equal to 2340. Now we can take the 9.5 pi to the other side of the equation as well, and we will divide it with 2340 because multiplication, when you take to the other side of the equation, becomes division. So therefore x would be equal to 2340 divided by 9.5 pi. So that would be 78.40475. And again, since you need your answer in 3 significant figures, the fourth significant figure, which is 0, which is also lesser than or equal to 5, will not round off the third significant figure, and therefore your final answer for part D would be 78.4 degrees.